You're listening to Popcorn in Orbit, a podcast for sci-fi lovers of all galaxies, hosted by filmmakers Jeremy Major and Ian P. Causer.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy here in Canada, and we've got Ian in Great Britain. Ian, how are you today, fine sir?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, this is going to be a fun one today. We're popping some popcorn because we are talking about movies, specifically the found footage genre, horror, found footage, all things found footage.
Everything to do with found footage. We're finding it today.
You're absolutely right. And did you ever think that you would make a film that would fit into the found footage genre, Ian?
I genuinely didn't. It never even crossed my mind.
Yet you have done it.
Yes, I have, yeah. It's interesting. I think anything that I wrongly assume is going to make the writing process harder, I try and avoid.
Right.
And found footage has very specific rules to it.
It does.
You have to take away all of the tools that you use as a director. And by taking away the director's tools of cinematography and all of those things, it actually makes it quite tricky to go, how is this going to be a found footage story? How will it be shown as a found footage story?
Yeah.
I just keep saying found footage. Yeah. So no, I didn't think I'd ever write one. And then you asked me to, and I'll do anything for you, Jay, as you well know.
Wow.
Because I'm that kind of guy.
Wow, that's good to know, actually. But it's one of those genres I didn't really have much sense of. I didn't really know much about it until very recently when we did this film. And I know we've talked about it a bit here. It's called Joe 3.0. It's on Found TV, which you can find at foundtv.com. And right now it's in the like short selection. It's kind of a long short. I'm calling it an extended short or a mini feature. Or I have multiple words for it. It's a short film. But it was an eye-opener to experience this genre. And within this subgenre of like horror, I guess, you can still see sci-fi, you know, there's all these other things going on in there. And it's really about like the experience. It's a whole different experience. It's more kind of first person or whatever, you know what I mean? Would you agree with that?
It's a really interesting way to put it. It's like writing a novel in the first person, which is, I've done that. I haven't done it in the third person. But yeah, it's like first person perspective filmmaking. And actually what I'd feared would make it difficult or challenging, why I hadn't considered doing it before, actually makes it exciting having to do it in a certain way. Does that make sense?
True, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's actually, you get excited about the idea. Oh, I've got to think this through. I've got to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
Of how this will work within that genre.
Filmmakers or artists like the idea of having a blank canvas or, you know, this kind of carte blanche idea, but in reality, I think you end up with new, more interesting, creative solutions and ideas when you actually have confines, when you're like forced to use your resources differently.
It's like the dictator's motto, isn't it? You think you want freedom, but I know better.
That was not my intention at all.
No, but it is. It's interesting.
Let's get to our guest before we put everyone to sleep. So we decided we're going to go to an expert in the field. And Louie Vella is, first of all, a really great guy. And he is also the co-founder of Found TV. And he's also a filmmaker, producer of all kinds of different genres. So he's just all about great storytelling. Louie, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate the time. And thanks to everybody out there listening in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, take us back. Tell us a bit about Found TV and how it started. What was the motivation here?
The crazy idea. Yeah. Let's start a streaming platform. That sounds easy.
Yeah.
So I mean, going way back, I was in television decade is ago, probably. And, so I, even smaller, I always love entertainment. That was like what I was going to do. So something around the globe of entertainment, whether it's music and live events and film and TV, I was hooked right from, I'm sure whoever, all of us listening and even you two have the bug right from, you remember. So I had the bug too. And so I did television and I got into, it was music TV, lifestyle TV, and got into music festivals and concerts. So it was always like around that entertainment world but always had the film and TV just gravitational pull towards that. And COVID slowed down a lot of live events, of course. So a lot of my music festivals and concerts and clients that I worked with and was producing those shows, put a good pause to it. And my wife, Monica, who's, been an avid writer for forever, wanted to really dive into screenwriting. And said, I really want to dive into screenwriting. I said, well, hey, funny enough, the bug for film is strong in me too. So if you're going to screenwrite, I'm going to lean back into producing. And so we started to develop projects and things like that. And, everybody out there sort of knows, whether you're in the industry or not, how things can be slow. You have to build relationships and you have to, put together, stories, but budgets around those stories. The business end of it is quite taxing sometimes, which is okay. But it takes a long time to get your regular movie off the ground. And so we're semi-impatient and entrepreneurial at the same time. So we decided, why don't we shoot, in the meantime, a lower budget film? We did a couple shorts and we're going to put almost the same effort. Why don't we do something of a lower budget film? So we did. And we produced Invited, which is a Screen Life film. So it was kind of fitting at the time, as it was the tail end of COVID, of course. But things were pretty much open at the time then. But, those kinds of films were coming out. And we thought that would be easy to shoot. Let's do a Screen Life film. It's just a Zoom. It wasn't easy.
Right. So this is basically like a horror movie in a Zoom call. Is kind of the idea.
Yeah. And there's a lot more of those out there. And, in the world of Screen Life, which is what it's called, and that found footage feel, people enjoy those. So we shot that and was very much a low budget film. And we learned a lot of the ropes a lot quicker. I've sort of, been in producing for a little bit, but this was a nicer schooling of getting the all hats on and really starting to learn all the different departments and how things really work well, from legal to producing and distribution. Yeah. And it was, well received in that world. So what happened? So the long story short is, I was like, there's a huge fan base for people who love found footage. Obviously we go back to Blair Witch. We even go before that to things like Cannibal Holocaust and Faces of Death. And, this style of shooting is pretty well received nowadays. And it always has been, but it was like a punk rock kind of fan base, not specifically punk rock, but that style of underground, But we have Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and our style of wandering around with just phones or shooting run and gun types of style is very well received, and it's normal. It doesn't look like, shaky camera. So I was like, there's a huge gap here, and there's not really one streaming platform that offers found footage. It's sprinkled around. It's on, Shudder, Screenbox, Tubi, YouTube, even Netflix has a few, which is great. Yeah. But there wasn't really one home, and we saw a big community there. So I said, Monica, we should start a streaming platform. And she thought I was nuts, but was like, yeah, this, if anybody's going to do it, we have that skill set. But she's like,
just whip that together.
Yeah, let's think about this first, because she's the, obviously the smarter, grounded one of the two. And it was actually on the way to Los Angeles. Yeah, Los Angeles for American Film Market a few years back. And I was on the plane and I got my laptop out and I wrote the business plan on the plane.
Oh, wow.
And it really is still the business plan we're working to this day. We're just over a year old. I don't know when people may listen to this, but when I wrote the business plan was November. By March or April of the next year, Monica's like, yeah, I think, the plan's looking great. And she's like, let's jump in. So we really started to put together developers and all that kind of fun stuff and really start to test things out. And we launched October 1st. So a year later is kind of where we are now timeline. Yeah. So we moved pretty quickly. And I was on the plane on the way to AFM. I think it was TIFF just before that when I was really like, we're going to do a streaming platform. Okay. Yeah. So I moved rather quick, but that's the long story of kind of why we wanted to do it. We wanted a playground for filmmakers that were like creating lower budget films and really trying to navigate the bigger Hollywood system, which, a lot of normal films get lost in the shuffle, let alone a very low budget film. I would go to these markets and there's posters everywhere of cool looking, horror movies and non-horror movies. And I'm like, man, it's tough to get noticed, as entertainment is a little noisy. So we were like, let's build a home, put the community in one sort of spot and grow together. We're fans and filmmakers and streamer at the same time. So it's kind of fun.
That is very cool. So, okay, let's talk about that community you mentioned and how active and rich that is.
It is. I mean, the cool part is being in the community. I love being in the Reddits and the Facebook groups and talking on Twitter, because they're so like active and like they are forgiving because it's low budget, but also they'll rip apart a movie at the same time, but also go back to your second movie, like it's really fun to see their love for the genre and the style. It's kind of like a sporting team, you know what I mean? Like they'll follow this the genre, I guess, is the sports team, and they'll follow it and they'll give the ups and downs, but still champion it to the end. And I found that pretty fascinating. As a horror fan, I was a horror fan since I was probably a fetus. My mom's a big horror fan, so I've never been scared of a movie ever. Yeah, very young. Yeah. I watched The Exorcist probably at 0. Faces of Death way too early. Should never have. But yeah. Anyways, but there's just like that rabid fan base of horror lovers. First of all, I mean, the broader horror market is a crazy awesome fan base. It's like a fan expo style fan base. But to get into found footage, I just found them just so. Because they see, this is what I believe, because they see lower budget films, they're just kinder, I want to say. Like they're just like respective of the filmmaker. The filmmakers are grounded and in these communities as well. So you get that veil, the curtain opening where you get to talk to the filmmakers. And I think that puts everybody on a similar, level.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
really
creates
interesting.
Friends and community more than this separation, what usually happens in entertainment world, I think.
I know for us, and thanks for taking on our film recently. But the opportunity to experiment and make a film in a way we've never done before, I think for Ian and I was a lot of fun and just a really interesting process. To what degree, can filmmakers use this platform as an opportunity to experiment?
Yeah, whatever their imagination sort of guides them to. I mean, we have certain policies and guidelines in our own mind on what we wouldn't like to promote, much like pretty much any, I guess, normal human being would. But, we have things from the cannibals all the way to, paranormal and cryptids and Bigfoots and aliens and mockumentaries and true crime, and all that in between. So people often ask, and it's the worst question because I don't have a good answer, is what are you looking for? And really, it's almost anything. I'm looking for a good story. So I don't want it whipped together and, we're me as a fan or anybody else as a fan would just be like, there's nothing to watch here, but creatives, you're all great creatives. So you have stories and you have story arcs and, the budget really doesn't come into play whatsoever. Nobody says there's a certain camera that you need to. No, I mean, it passes your general QC, have the audio in sync, get good audio, right? Some people have that one camera, but when the person turns around and goes into the woods, you can't hear them anymore. Make sure everybody's on. So great story, good audio. And the bar, I want to say, isn't the highest in that regard. It's the stories that people love to gravitate to. I've had films at $500 budgets come through and people love them. And I had films in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands and people love them and not love them. It's really cool that, again, it's like music. You're going to find your own taste. That's why we like to bring so much to Found TV so people can find their taste.
So if somebody logs on there, I know you've mentioned a few titles here, there's a huge volume of content there.
There is, yeah.
How do you guys find this? Where
It's crazy because I play, again, now I'm playing multiple hats as we'll call it a baby studio, right? Because we're trying to produce our own films, support filmmakers, whether we do a little bit of financing / bring them on as a streamer. And then we're also not a distributor in the traditional sense of distribution to other places, but we're a distributor as a streaming platform. So that's another hat to wear, which is actually a really fun hat. I love finding obscure titles or big titles and getting in touch with an executive or filmmaker, and we have a cool conversation, build a relationship, and then I bring it to Found TV, and the fans are like, "Oh my gosh, this is a great title or a new film that was discovered." I think it's like Christmas all the time doing that, so I love it. But it is a lot of research because filmmakers may not get to distribution because maybe it's too small of a film or distributor doesn't, want to look at it. So I'm trying to figure out where these are, contact the filmmaker. Maybe they made the film years ago and now have grown into larger budget films. So it's like, oh, I made that film, but it's on a hard drive somewhere, right? It was sort of forgotten. And I love it and I want to put it on Found TV. And many times distributors say, we want to work together. Here's our big Excel sheet of horror, because we don't really tag it as found footage because there wasn't really a found footage streamer. Then I have to go through the entire list of hundreds or maybe thousands of titles that are just tagged horror to see which are the found footage ones that we can, fall in love with and bring on board. So it's a fun mission, that's for sure. It's definitely ongoing. I have sticky notes, which I'm always a digital guy, but I have sticky notes of like titles to try and find and license. It's really cool.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you for doing this.
No problem. It's a fun endeavor.
I was trying to explain on a previous podcast, but maybe I'll articulate it better now you're here. It's so nice for the writer, me, to just go, right, there is a platform for this. So it becomes, I'm sure Monica would agree, it becomes tedious writing new stuff if in the back of your mind you're like, is this ever going to get made?
I know, right?
It really gets to you after a while. So to have this platform, and Jay sold it to me in April after he met with you, I think, and discussed it. And Jay was like, and I said, well, if I write it, will you shoot it? He says, you write it, I'll shoot it. And that process of knowing there is actually a platform for this to sit on once we get it done was so liberating, wasn't it, Jay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so thank you, basically. Thank you for creating this, because I can't think of another creative team that have actually created a streaming platform.
Pretty wild, but and a bigger thank you to like you guys and everybody else out there for creating the films. We would never have a streaming platform if people stopped making these, these styles of films, or even the fans that still fall in love with them and want to watch them and then go to Letterboxd and put reviews, good or bad. I mean, it's just great to have that, we're just the middle person, and I know it's an important piece of that wheel there, spoke on the wheel, but it's such a cool team effort. And we definitely are always humbled by, you thinking of cool stories that would fit Found TV and whatnot. And again, we're still small but mighty and growing fast in 100+ countries. And it's pretty wild, but we love being a part of it. And again, it gives me the itch to create more as well and to produce when we have the time. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about that. So you've been working on some projects recently. You just finished filming your latest. Yeah.
Our latest,
A Possession in Lincoln County, was again written by Monica, and it is a possession found footage film, which is, one of my favorite styles of horror is supernatural possession, religious horror, that kind of idea. So it's a cool concept where a couple, the storyline will grow into the couple getting together and falling in love. And then she has a terminal illness, cancer. And, of course, prayers don't work. Medicine doesn't work, and she's on her, last sort of timeline, and he just refuses to accept that. So he finds a way to make a deal with the devil to save her. But the only way to do that is not by your typical, let's pray to the devil. He has to use a conduit. So he has to kidnap somebody and do rituals to possess her so that the devil shows up and he can talk face to face and, make a deal. So it is, as they call it in Hollywood, give me the same but different, right? It's a possession film. It's a horror, paranormal, like supernatural film. But what a twist, right? So that's been fun. So we shot 6 days so far. We have one more day to shoot. And editing has started. My two teens are amazing at media and entertainment in editing and all kinds of things. So they were very helpful as well in getting
this is like a real family endeavor.
It is. And it's awesome. Not like we said, hey, you guys have to learn this to be a part of it. They just love that stuff. They have their own YouTube channels and editing, and they were great in even helping out. And Cruz, one of my sons is starting to do the assembly. So he can learn, hey, then that you guys mentioned, experimenting. What a great spot for anybody to learn how to do things. It's tougher in larger budgets to put trust in new, editors and, composers and actors. And, you don't have the time or the leeway to make mistakes. And in here, you kind of have a little bit of that, leeway to say, go ahead, test the assembly. I'm going to edit in the end, but maybe he puts together a great edit at the beginning and he gets that learning curve where you would never have that opportunity. Same with all filmmakers that are like, I'm trying to make this $10 million horror movie, but I can make a $2,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
found footage movie and really experiment and learn the business, right? Without the biggest of risk to potentially yourself or an investor, whatnot. So it's a cool platform of experimentation as well. So yeah, we've been having fun producing that. I want to produce more, of course, because that's the bug. Yeah. But we have to carve time out and lazy Susan around the business, right? You just kind of keep circling. Yeah.
And how did you approach it stylistically with that film? Is it like documentary style? Or?
It is, no, well, the main character, he is a sort of a small content creator, does weddings and, things like that. So he wants to document this to prove if he gets in trouble by the police or whatever, that he's not doing this, for evil reasons. He's trying to save his wife, and he's not going to hurt the girl that he kidnaps. He's just going to, tie her up a little bit and get her possessed, and then she'll be fine after, because, the ritual closes it out and she'll be cool and the wife will be saved. So he's doing this and recording, documenting it himself, so that there's sort of proof that he's not, an evil kidnapper trying to kill anybody.
Okay, yeah.
Of course, stuff has to go aside. And that's why we have this footage to enjoy. So that's kind of the style concept of why it's being recorded. So yeah.
Okay, that's
cool.
very cool.
Very cool.
So Louie, I know it's grown like in leaps and bounds in the course of a year. What has surprised you the most about this endeavor?
I feel like there's a couple cool things. I've never had a streaming platform in my life.
Right.
And it's cool to sit down and talk to some very large executives of some of the biggest in the world and sort of ask questions and learn what they're doing with streaming and how they're utilizing their streaming platforms, and kind of be validated that like, wow, we got it right or are doing it the same way, but also we're outside of the box a bit by what we're doing at the same time. So that's kind of a pleasant surprise, right? Where you're like, geez, boy, we weren't like way off and like, what were we thinking? Like that's cool.
Like, are you giving Netflix tips now? Is that
maybe one day? No, it would be very cool. But that's cool. And, I'm always, again, pleasantly surprised with content that comes in that I may think is great, or I may think is, wow, that's a very different piece, and how much the fans love everything that comes through, or hates, but like, everybody will try things, and you are going to have a group of people that do love it and become super fans. It's so fun to see that. It's very much a cool, feels like an underground, kind of idea but it's a real streaming platform that you can download on all your devices as if it is like a Netflix style, right?
Yeah,
it's not something that, is an odd way to ingest the content. It's kind of neat to have that. So I guess those are two cool surprises.
And this is worldwide too. Is that right?
100 something countries. Majority of users are your typical US, Canada, UK idea, and then into Europe. Very big Spanish fan base. So South America, of course, in Spain. They're big horror fans, Spanish. Like over 50%, I think, of Spanish population, the stat says, do enjoy horror.
Really?
So I love it. Yeah. It's a great bunch.
Who knew?
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. So we have even we're encouraging our filmmakers too. If you're going to give us, of course, you give us English subtitles so people can watch in subtitles. But we always encourage at least Spanish. If you're going to make a second subtitle, at least Spanish, because we even have a category that has either Spanish language, because we have different languages that come in, Japanese, French, Portuguese, Spanish, or an English film with the Spanish subtitles, because they'll watch it and they enjoy it, which I think is cool.
Do you have certain titles that are like your most popular?
It's really cool. I mean, we have popular titles. If you look up found footage titles, and like most of the big ones that pop up, we have a good chunk of those. And also working on, which again is part of the fun part of the acquisition, some of the biggest in the world. It is just a matter of licensing them for, negotiating a decent deal that's, fair to us, but also fair to them. But that's the cool part. We actually have some of the bigger titles, Gonjam and Deborah Logan and Frogman and Be My Cat, like some of the pinnacle titles. And some of the other ones you're thinking of is actually in motion. So that's pretty fun. And hopefully we get those on quite soon. But it's very interesting to see, I have a marketing background as well, especially with music festivals and whatnot.
Yeah.
Look at, again, the community. And sometimes people mention, hey, I saw this film, could be from 10 years ago. And they may have seen it on Found, or maybe they found it somewhere else. And people are like, oh, cool recommendation. Haven't seen it before, or that sounds like something I would watch again. And I will feature that, if we have the title, on our login. So when you log in, of course, any streamer, you have the featured tiles. And I find that the people are watching almost sort of what we're presenting to them. So if we feature things, of course it's front and center, but it reminds them about a film, or we're kind of in that same sort of push as another influencer, as people are talking about a film. So it's not only the big ones that they come for. They're also looking for the hidden gems or things they haven't seen or something they don't remember. Because again, it's been sort of sprinkled everywhere, but not in one spot. So there's thousands of found footage titles. I have a list of 2,500 that we are slowly chipping away at. And so there's a lot. And so you imagine, oh my God, I only know of a few, right? Blair Witch, Paranormal Activity, like I can only, most people, but there's a lot out there. So it doesn't have to be a brand new film. We can feature it, do some promotion around it, and people will watch that. Yeah. So it's cool. It gets the cycle.
How does one become featured on there? I'm asking for a friend.
I mean, we do it with, of course, our exclusives. We do it for. If something is trending, I'll feature it. Those kind of ideas is really what we look for on featuring. So part of the shorts, we featured the shorts sort of catalog there, and people started to go through that pretty quickly. That kind of thing. And then I like to randomly select, because it is weird to not always know exactly what the fans want, which is kind of cool, because you get to experiment and look at the data, look at the trends, and even start trends. So it's kind of fun when they're like, oh, they're starting to watch more, Bigfoot style things. Okay, cool. We'll start featuring some of that to get them in there. But we can also cause a trend at the same time by switching it up to something completely different. Aliens, all of a sudden, to start pushing that out and getting it into the fan base, and they're like, oh yeah, cool, Aliens, it sounds fun as well, and they'll come enjoy it. It's really, really, really exciting.
That connection with the viewers, that community aspect, like you don't see that in other areas.
Yeah, I think, they're their own fan groups.
Do you think as creators we're fearful of it?
I mean, I think that, and I guess everybody's different, so you will have a different answer than myself. Like, you will know yourself if you do actually want to see all the comments, because it's like, it's fine, I don't really care, or if it does like kind of get to your core. But eventually it's like, it's just part of the business. It's okay to be a part of the community. And many filmmakers, that when there's something negative on, this movie, the acting, whatever, they'll say, well, thanks for watching, that's awesome that you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching and being, part of the community. And they respect that. And sometimes, they jump right in all of a sudden, because like, oh crap, the actual filmmaker's here. Oh no, I didn't mean that. And it's like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to like backtrack. You did it's no problem. But then they build that fan base, and then they're like, what else do you have? They'll go watch something else, or they're waiting for the next project, and they'll come and support. That's what I love about the fans and the community so much, that they sometimes will jump to the gun behind the keyboard. Totally fine. But then they're like, you know what? I still am part of this community, and we're all, like one cool family. And then they support elsewhere, right? Or
I really like the way you described it as almost like a sporting fandom, because I watched the New York Giants lose their 27th game out of 30 last night, and my language at my team was pretty choice. Right. I gotta be honest. And
but you'll watch next year.
I'll watch them lose again next week. Useless.
Yeah, exactly. Until they're winners, and then you're like, and now, your fan.
But it's only because you love it that you're
bit.
that passionate about it in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, and we saw that passion again, because it almost feels like anyone can be the filmmaker, quote unquote. Like, you know what, if I really put my mind to it and learned a bit and got my iPhone, but I can make a found footage film too. And I don't want to like make it sound easy, because it's definitely not. Even a $5,000 film, you have to think about everything from, E&O insurance and logos and music clearances. Like, you need to be aware of that. But when I first saw Blair Witch in the theaters, and again, this is, a couple years ago, and I was whatever, I can't remember what age I would have been, and that was in 99 or something like that. But like, I was in that business still, trying to grow as a sort of, younger, obviously I didn't really do acting. I wasn't an actor, but like, again, I was starting to develop projects and still young. I was entrepreneurial very much as a teen, doing some nightlife concerts at like 16, 17. So I was always entrepreneurial. But when I saw Blair Witch, I'm like, man, this is great, because look how big this is. And that means sort of anyone can really come up with a great idea and get a film in the theaters. This is really cool. So it's so wild to be, X amount of years later in that world still. And Monica and I are developing other projects that are non-found footage.
Right.
Large scale scripts, universes, TV series, things like that are very much high budget, but those take time,
Yeah.
And we
absolutely.
have fun doing things in between and really taking found TV seriously as this is growing, much quicker than, we were excited for it
It's
to
very
be.
similar to what,
that's
what
amazing.
Jay and I are doing, isn't it? But it sounds very similar. We've got different projects at different sizes, and it's the fun
Always.
stuff in between that.
Yeah, it keeps you going. And I think that's smart to do, there's reasons to be at events and to talk about what you're working on. And, nowadays with the YouTube world and social media and all that kind of fun stuff, like the distribution landscape is so wide open, right? So you can create content, and it's all about branding and finding a good fan base to grow into no matter what platform you're working on, right? And then trying to figure out, okay, how do you monetize so you can pay for the projects, of course, and then make a living at the same time.
Can I ask some fun questions here? Because I want to go back to something you said right at the top. You've never been scared by a movie, and you.
No, I can't remember ever being scared. Spiders will scare me, so let's
what about
I guess do a
arachnophobia,
sidebar. Yeah, that would freak me out, but like real spiders would scare me, so it's not really the movie that's doing it, right?
The Shining? What about The Shining?
No.
Really?
Maybe I've been jump scared a few times, like it's a loud noise, but again,
that doesn't. Yeah, no,
I don't think that counts as in. But I really appreciate the creepiness of things. I think that I can feel. So I don't know if you say that's like leaning into a scare, but like I get the, I love the Conjuring series and Annabelle and all those fun things. Love Paranormal Activity, but I was like fascinated with the story and the way it was shot and how, other people get scared beside me and I look over. Oh, that was scary. It's such an awesome genre for me. But yeah, I can probably safely scare. I've never been actually scared of a movie where I like watched the movie and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't sleep at night. That's never happened to me.
How old would you have been when you saw The Shining? I'm going to keep going on The Shining. I'm sorry. Shining. I watched it. I was about 15 or 16. And it's not so much what you see; it's the kid on the trike just. It just.
Oh, that was pretty fun.
It freaks you out.
There's so many old movies. So many old movies that I would have seen. Salem's Lot, Shining, like when I was quite young. Cujo, and. Like, of course, I remember the movies, but like, I definitely do not remember being scared at all. And like, never, I couldn't sleep. I didn't know, never happened. So maybe I was a couple wires.
No, that's pretty. I think that's really cool. People used to think that of me because when I was younger, but it's nothing compared to you. So what's your all-time favorite movie, Louie?
Ooh, I love The Omen.
Right, yeah. So that's a classic.
I really love The Omen, and the newer Omen. That is sort of the prequel that was shot like an old style movie and then sort of connects. I think that was really good. So if you watch any other podcasts and know anything about me, it's hard to ask me favorites. You'll say, what's your favorite color? I don't know. What's your favorite song? I don't know. Maybe it's the ADHD that just kind of bounces around. But like, The Omen was a fave. I'll give you like 10 favorites, right? I loved, of course, The Blair Witch and Paranormal. Big fan of Godzilla. Not horror, but I'm a big Godzilla fan.
Well, I love the cultural significance of Godzilla. After Hiroshima and Nagasaki, this thing coming out of the Pacific, and yes, this monster,
very crazy and cool, and again, a story, right? A good story. But as for horror, I think The Omen, Conjurings are great. Big fan of Annabelle. I'm sure I'll think of more as we finish up.
Is Blair Witch considered like the first of the found footage genre?
I think one of the biggest, but not the first. I think, things like Cannibal Holocaust, it was one of the first, because that was in the, I want to say 70s-ish.
Okay.
And my found footage trivia is never. Face of Death shortly after that were very much found footage. That's kind of like a documentary style. I thought it was real when I watched it. I thought, how are you recording all this stuff? Because I was pretty young.
Yeah. But that's kind of what you want, right? You want to have just that little bit of like bit of question.
Where are they getting all this footage for people dying? This is crazy talk. And then you slowly figure out that it's a very cool
That was
movie.
the Blair Witch phenomenon, wasn't it? There was a lot of people that thought this. But I just remember thinking this is incredibly cool and different. Because I thought that was the first. I'd never seen anything like that before.
Still revolutionary by being such a big stamp in just regular movie, in cinema, it's that style can also be enjoyed by that many people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, a huge, you know, enjoyable storyline and whatnot. It was quite the phenomenon that really put a big stamp on found footage back then. And it just continued to grow from there. And now, again, we all have phones, and, you know, you can use different cameras that are not the very expensive cameras. You actually don't want too much production, because it starts to eliminate the this could be real feeling. You know, we all know it's a movie, but the better the production, I think the feeling of this could be real. Or maybe my friend took their phone into that haunted house, and that's the scary part that happened. That feels cooler, you know, than some big production. I think there's a line. So sometimes it works, and a lot of times you don't need it.
Can I ask you your opinion on soundtrack in found footage? Because this is something Jay and I really talked about. It's like, you can't have music.
I know. So, you know, you got the very much the purist side of it, where it's like, where does music come from? Right. So it wouldn't be there. And then if you try and force it by, they had a Spotify playlist playing, or their Google or something, you know, and that's when we could throw music in there.
You got to explain it.
Then you have to explain it. And then you're starting to hear sound design come into play, where it's like, okay, sound design might be more forgiving. The fans are starting to be a little bit more okay with sound design, you know, that little creepy humming and stuff like that. That works. And then there are a few films that are starting to add music in it, just saying it is still a movie. And even though it's shot in this style, we're going to start moving to it's a movie still. So it just sounded too flat without. And so we're going to add music in it. And you're starting to see some of those come out too. I think I like to, again, watch the movie as is. And I think I'm less pure. If it really doesn't make sense, you're like, this doesn't even make sense to the movie, I think that maybe it'll kind of cut me out of it. But there are still many, many people that feel that way, that are like, you can't have music in it because it doesn't make any sense. It's
taking away a critical component of a storyteller's arsenal. And I think that's a cool thing.
It is.
Because we were like, wow, you know, because the soundtrack can so manipulate your audience into what they're feeling or what have you. And when you remove that entirely, it's like losing a limb almost, especially for someone like Jeremy, who composes his own stuff. He's a great musician. So I just wanted to know what you thought about that. Do you feel like it shouldn't really be there, or it depends on the situation? Again,
I definitely don't mind if somebody feels like it should be here, and I watch it and it still feels enjoyable as a movie. That's because I think we're moving, the genre seems to be growing nicely. So we are going to see that. We're going to see sound design in it where it's like, well, how come there's a humming sound that feels like the demon's close by, but it feels cool because it's scary. But then, you know, you can't break out of that experience and try and analyze, where did the sound come from, right? Like, is the demon making noises? You just have to enjoy the movie. I do think that we're slowly touching on that, but it can take you out of it. Absolutely can take you out of it. But I think that's why people are experimenting with other things that are sort of mockumentary-ish. In a mockumentary, you have different pieces. Music, because you're piecing together what would be an enjoyable documentary that has, you know, the stock footage look and a drone shot, and then like you're putting together a different movie versus a found footage where we literally found the tapes and there's like nobody should have even edited it. So that's very pure. I feel like there's a lot of experimentation going on anyways.
Developing things for the sort of mainstream industry, you know, the first question is always, well, who's in it, right? And there's kind of these set of standards that it can be really hard to deal with as a producer. Whereas with this genre, it's like, give us a big idea and play around with it. And you know what I mean? Give us an experience that's really unique. It doesn't have to cost a lot. It doesn't have to follow those conventions. It's just it's kind of liberating in many ways as well.
Yeah. And you know, breaking that sort of experience and the feeling of it reality when you have a bigger name in it, right?
It almost ruins it a little bit, does it? It takes you out of it.
It could. It could take you out of it. Which is kind of cool to not need that. It keeps the budgets low and whatnot. I think there's still that. And again, another reason why we created Found TV was, you know, you still have a lot of distributors saying, well, we want to try and sell this, you know, in Europe and all these other places. And they do look at still, how does the poster sell it with maybe the named face, so we can start to chip away at and that's the business side of just movie making, not just found footage. And that's kind of another piece when I was wandering around AFMs and European film market and all these other places that are like, well, it's I guess tough to sell traditionally found footage because there's no name in it. And it's like, you know, it's an inexpensive budget. And I hope that we're putting a little bit more visibility to found footage and mockumentary by having a streaming platform, and people are knowing what the genre and the style is. Yeah. So hopefully that helps other distributors and whatnot think, we don't want a name. It doesn't have to be big budget. That's how it's sold. And then they can talk to that in other markets and say, no, that's that style. You shouldn't expect the name. And, they can make those sales for the filmmakers and whatnot. That's what I hope we make a little bit of a shift in awareness in the entire industry for found footage. We'd like to be the biggest curator of found footage in the world eventually and producer of it if we could, or at least help and support all of that. But that's awesome. The no names I think is a cool aspect of horror in general, but definitely in found footage.
So do you want to hear from filmmakers? If people have ideas and films?
Yeah, definitely. Especially, as we're growing, completed films are very much send them our way, right? Yep. And we'll do it, we'll screen them. We have a little team that screens and helps. Because again, sometimes I don't know if this is a hit or not. I have a good gut feeling because I've been a horror fan forever. But I love hearing from other people that are sort of in our circles to say, you know what, this was good, and whatever their little ratings. And then we say, okay, cool, this is how we'll push it. We do get many screenwriters, filmmakers with concepts. And I think we're in such an early stage that we're being very, not just particular, but I wish we had all the money in the world to greenlight things because they're not expensive, but we're also growing so quick that we want to put dollars to marketing to get more eyeballs to the films and growing our server costs, and also producing and trying to get other filmmakers so we can help finance. The goal is we have a formula that works well. We know we can throw a little bit here. We know that it's going to make this much in ad revenue and this much in rentals, and then we can do this. And we're like, cool. It's the old school Hollywood formula of financing a film, but in such a baby budget that it becomes easier to support filmmakers nonstop. So yeah, we definitely want to hear from filmmakers. It's quite slower to get just ideas off the ground on our end if we have to jump in and help produce and finance for now.
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
Only, we may be listening to this 6 months from now and it's like free for all. We need, 50 films a month. I don't know. But we are very open to hearing direct. Absolutely.
Let's start writing.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Okay.
Start writing. Idea number one.
Yeah.
Idea
Can I
number
ask
two.
you, because this is something I didn't actually realize until I actually sat down to write, Joe, is found footage seems to be inextricably linked to horror. I feel like it. I mean, Borat's a comedy found, I guess now found footage, mockumentary.
True. True, yeah.
When I thought found footage and not the mockumentary style, I tend to write sci-fi, so that's the sci-fi aspect of it. Do you think there is a space within found footage as a genre for, say, for instance, a science fiction? So it doesn't have to be there any horror side to it. It can just be a sci-fi.
No, for sure. We have a couple of Alien ones that are very much a sci-fi not really horror at all.
I was going to say Western. That would be really stupid, wouldn't it? As they had no technology back then whatsoever.
You need to time travel with a camera and kind of justify that. Yeah,
there's a concept.
But yes, absolutely. Outside of horror, we have true crime stuff that is kind of not horror at all. It's very much a sort of a true crime or a crime thriller style for sure. Again, we have the Bigfoots and cryptid ideas that are either search or mockumentary, and it kind of sometimes leans into horror if they're getting attacked, of course, but it's sort of it's not horror in the sense of a slasher or paranormal or a ghost or something like that. Absolutely. We have some horror comedy. That's cool. Mix up the flavor there. That's also fun. I'll probably do a horror comedy one day because I like comedy as well.
It's funny. I just it's not found footage, but I've just finished writing a feature which is kind of horror comedy, isn't it, Jay? Horror comedy sci-fi sort of thing. Yeah. Because we've both got a soft spot for the movie Lake Placid. I don't know if you ever saw Lake Placid in the 90s. It's like
back in the day.
And the day that they did it with this tongue-in-cheek, we're taking the mickey a little bit out of this genre, the creature-feature stuff. I like that sort of self-awareness and making it amusing. Mm-hmm. So I think there's definitely room for that. So in essence, if there are filmmakers out there who've made a found footage film that isn't horror, you'd still be interested in giving it a look.
For sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have those on the platform right now.
Cool.
Yeah. And there's a few that I've been, looking at for licensing or supporting that are definitely not horror. And they're either alien, sci-fi idea, Yeah,
it's absolutely.
Not a Western. Not a Western. I don't
just
know.
No Westerns, all right?
Yeah. Now, of course, people do come, thinking horror as the bigger, because like you just said, Ian, it's like you would expect that I want to come here and watch horror. So they will find that. But there's definitely a spot where they're starting to explore outside of that a little bit. Would we do like a Western or a found footage Christmas romance style movie? I don't know if, unless you had such a huge category of it, that would make sense. I don't know if it would fit necessarily. We have had some that are hybrid. And we've sort of touched a little bit that are like, there's some narrative in it, and then it cuts into found footage. And again, some of the purist fans are like, this is a hybrid film. It's not all found footage. So we started to lean a little bit of testing a couple of those out. I mean, Cannibal Holocaust technically is a hybrid film. It's definitely not all found footage, because you have that normal narrative where they're reviewing the footage back at the office and that kind of idea. That's something, again, I like pushing the envelope, and maybe I want to push a little bit further than the fans want it sometimes. So I want to be aware of what their loves are and what makes their taste, acceptable, let's say, before I start pushing the envelope too much and opening those floodgates. But absolutely always looking at things.
Cool. All right. So if somebody wants to check out the streaming channel, what's the best way to get in there?
Yeah, foundtv.com. That's the fastest way to get there, learn about it. You can register for free. And you can watch for free, unlimited, and there'll be some ads that play throughout the film, which the filmmakers love, of course, because it supports them. But if you want to remove the ads, we have a very small subscription fee that removes the ads. You can watch ad free.
And you can get this on smart TVs and everything else, right?
Yeah, all of them: the Roku, the LG, Samsung, Apple TV, Android, Fire Stick, Amazon Fire Stick, on your browser, your phone, all that kind of stuff.
And then to kind of join into the conversation, talking about community and that, where's the best place to do that? Is that Facebook or?
Yeah, we're pretty active on Facebook, especially with our all the groups that we're involved in. So there's a lot of found footage Facebook groups out there, the Reddit found footage community, and of course you can always follow us at Watch Found TV. That's on all the platforms, and we're always on them all. Between myself and Monica and another person that works with us, Rob. He's great at the social medias. He's on there a lot. He's in Ireland, so hours that we're not there, and he's been fantastic at helping be a part of the community as well. So we're always attentive. I'm there as either Found TV or myself a lot, just to kind of just be a part of it, because I was a part of it even before Found. So just to continue to be there.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, Louie, thanks so much for being here, and congratulations on a great first year. Wish you all the best with your new projects too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks to everybody out there. Appreciate it.
Popcorn in Orbit is produced by the Shooting Eye and Ice River Pictures.